and welcome to Craft Academy. This is a place that's all about learning. We'll try and teach you brilliant new skills, whether it's sewing, whether it's knitting, whether you're into paper craft. Maybe we can entice you into scrapbooking. There's always something new to learn, and when you're a crafter, you die in to learn something. Now, this evening, we are going to be sharing with you a brand new lesson. We're going to be talking about crocheting. Shall we run you through the lesson plan? So, what we've got for you, crocheting, how to hold a hook, the thickness of the yarn and the size of the hook. We're going to be learning how to tie off loose ends. You are going to be learning how to make granny squares. Now, after that as well, we're going to be doing the kanzashi flowers. That's a step-by-step guide on how to make them. Lesson 3, we've got pom-pom making, and that's going to be a step-by-step guide on how to make the perfect pom-pom. We're going to squeeze loads more in between. So hit record button and get ready to learn. Now, this evening, it isn't just me, obviously. We've got lovely Julie in the building. Hiya, Julie. It's brilliant because crocheting is one of them things where I've watched loads of times, you know, you taking us through, you showing us how to do different things. Yep. But it's one of those things that there's so much within crocheting, isn't there?
There's loads.
Why do you love it? What makes it special for you, Julie?
Well, I tried knitting and I really struggled with knitting. I could just about cope with the basics of knit and purl. I couldn't do the English, so I learnt the continental, and I just didn't have the eureka moment. So I thought, right, well, I'll try doing crochet, and I fell in love with crochet. I fell in love with it. Initially, when I did it, I ended up throwing it across the room.
Because it did your head in?
Well, because I was self-taught. Most of what I've done, I've self-taught, and I didn't realise that there was an American language and an English language.
Okay.
So I was following an American pattern, not knowing it in the basics, because I didn't even know the basics then. And I'm thinking, oh, but I'm doing what it's telling me to do, but it doesn't look like that. So I lobbed it across the room. I left it a bit and then picked it up again. And what I did is a bit more research and kind of looked into it, and because I fell in love with yarns and texture and the feel of different variegated yarns in colour and variegated in texture, and because I loved it so much I thought, no, I've really got to give it a go. So I picked it up again. I've only been crocheting for about 18 months. Not awfully long. I've still got loads to learn. But I'm loving it, and I'm learning all the time.
Do you know, I love it because when you look at all the variations, there's all sorts, isn't there?
There is.
When I first heard about crocheting, I heard about granny squares.
Yeah, absolutely.
But you can do all sorts of things.
There's tons.
Like from home decor, obviously clothes, and it's beautiful.
There is, and it's kind of moved away from the traditional grandma's doilies, which actually are very beautiful, but that's what you kind of assume crochet to be about. And there's so much you can do, like you say, scarves and clothes and blankets and toys, and amigurumi, the miniatures are really popular.
I love them.
And there's just so much you can do, and it's for me anyway, I find it simpler than knitting. You've only got one hook.
Do you want to tell us where would I start?
Right, well, what
do I need to know?
So you need to we'll go right back to the basics, and we're going to look at yarns. Because you have different thicknesses in yarns, and I'll talk you through those thicknesses. And I don't know if you can see here, we've got a whole mixture of sizes of crochet hooks.
Yeah, because they go from the real diddies to huge.
To look at that, I mean, that's mahoosive, isn't it?
Absolutely. That's a tool.
That's a bringing it this way. But basically, you match your crochet hook to the thickness of your yarn. Right? Okay. So we start with really small, thin yarn, and this is lace weight yarn, and this is what your grandmother would have made the doilies with.
Oh my word!
Tiny. I mean, it is embroidery yarn. And it's really, really thin. And what you need is the really thin crochet hooks here. Let me hold that.
Wow.
Now, I don't know if you can see, but there is a tiny little crochet head there.
Wow, that is so delicate.
It is really. I mean, it's almost you can just about see that.
That I would never begin on something like that.
No,
would
you
I?
wouldn't. No,
that
you really wouldn't. No,
I'm really glad you said that.
So,
no.
So basically, the thicker the yarn, the thicker the head of the crochet hook.
Okay, okay, so
and
that makes sense.
That's the basic. So
and will most patterns tell me that
they'll
anyway?
always tell you that. Okay, so what we have a standard, the most popular, I think, thickness in yarn, and that's the density of this, is what you call a DK, a double knit.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you go from this very thin embroidery yarn, and then you can have 2-ply, 3-ply, 4-ply, which is what very thin, and it's often what is used for the amigurumi, the miniatures, and socks.
Oh yeah,
right?
Okay.
And then you move up into double knit.
Yeah.
Okay. Now these are both double knit, but
look how different.
Right. See how different. So this is a double knit. This is made from cotton.
Which is something like that.
Which is that. Okay.
Yeah.
This is a double knit, and this is made from acrylic. So it should be the same thickness of yarn, but it isn't because it's made from a different substance. The pattern that I use to make these two circular doilies is the identical pattern, and they're both double knit. So you can see the difference in size depending on what you use.
So obviously the yarn completely changes the finished result.
Absolutely.
I love it, because it depends what you're aiming for, doesn't it?
100%.
Okay.
So you can then go up.
That's
then you have double knit. You have Arons. You have chunkies. You have super chunkies, which is what this is.
So what would I use that for? Would that be more for home decor?
This, you could make a really funky scarf from this. It'd be lovely. And you would use your fatter hook, and hooks have their sizes that run along the side.
Right. Okay.
Okay. So that's a 9mm. So on average, that's what you would use. That, and what you're doing is you need to be able to hook the yarn in it.
Right. Okay. And that's how you can tell.
Yeah.
I bet that'd come together really quickly as well, wouldn't it?
Really quickly. The thicker the yarn, the quicker it comes together.
We like that.
Now this is like t-shirt fabric, really.
Yeah, it's like a jersey, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a jersey fabric, but I've crocheted with this. I've made a floor mat with it.
Do you know? Yeah, I've seen that, haven't I? And it's really nice.
Yeah, it's really nice.
And it's different. I think that's it these days. There's so many different yarns out there, isn't there?
There's absolutely
And like you were saying,
loads.
the colours are just fab.
Brilliant.
Okay.
So you have your thicknesses of yarns.
Yeah.
You match it with the right crochet hook.
Yeah.
Okay.
And does it make a difference if it's a metal hook, or if it's one of these like these have
a rubberized handle.
Okay.
It depends what you're used to. Personally, I prefer rubberized handles.
Okay.
I have issues with my hands.
Yeah.
And I ache very quickly.
Right.
So I tend to use the rubberized handled ones because I can crochet for longer with them.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's less pressure on my hands.
So that's what you found's better for you. I suppose everyone will find what's better for them.
Everyone's different. If you've been into crocheting, you've had to stop because of arthritis or whatever, give these a try. I can't guarantee it, but like anything in life, it's worth trying.
Yeah, it's worth giving it a go, isn't it?
Yeah, you just, I find these easier to manage with my hands.
Super.
So,
okay.
Yeah, but traditionalists might want to stay with these. These are the metal ones. There's nothing wrong with these. These are fab. Now, the metal ones tend to have the size of the hook in the centre of it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And they're incredibly lightweight as well,
yeah, they
aren't
are. Feel that.
See, that's fresh
You wouldn't know that it was in your hand.
Well, it isn't fresh air, obviously. It's a crochet hook. You aren't pretending you can't see anything. But that is really lightweight.
It is really lightweight.
As opposed to being a cloud.
So there is a process whereby I'm going to show you. I like double knit and I like cottons, and this is a double knit cotton, and I think it just gives a really nice look when you're crocheting.
I love the cottons, and they've got a beautiful sheen to them.
They have. They've called it's a process called it's been mercerized.
Ooh, poor thing.
It's had a substance added to it that gives it a little bit of a sheen.
Right, fabulous.
And it splits less as well when you're crocheting. You can change your hook size, so if you want to make what you're crocheting tighter or looser, you can actually go up a hook size or down a hook size if you want to.
Right, okay.
But generally, if you're using a double knit, you want a size 4 crochet hook.
Fabulous, okay.
So we've run through yarn sizes and we've run through reasons for hooks and how you mix and match them.
Yes, right,
so
what's next?
The next bit of advice I'd like to offer is ball bands, right? All yarns come with a ball band, and the ball band gives you all the information that you need.
Okay.
Okay. And the thing that I do with everyone is I take it off the yarn.
Yep.
And I snip a long bit of the yarn off and I tie it to the ball band.
Okay.
And the reason and keep it because if you're merrily crocheting or knitting an item and you run out, you might go back to the shop and say you'll see this one here and this colour, but actually it might have come from a different dye lot because what happens is they will cook up a whole batch if you like in one dye lot, okay, and then they will run that through the system and then they will make up another lot with the same colour, but it might be ever such a slightly different dye lot, so the colour will vary a little bit. And if it's a
fraction out and you're doing a full piece, you can tell,
and you can tell, and it's a bit frustrating. So basically, you keep that with it, and the most important information. Let's have a look on our ball band here. Here we go. It says lot number. So we've got the quality and the lot number, so we know that that is the dye lot number, so that you know when you need to buy some more yarn, you want that colour, that company,
excellent,
and that dye lot number.
That's brilliant. Okay,
keep hold of that.
Fabulous.
Okay, so
right, what's next? Do we need? I know what I was going to ask you. You know, in knitting, where you do a tension square.
Tension square.
Do you do that with crochet?
You can do. Okay. I never do.
Right.
I don't. I just want to jump in and get on with it. I just want to get on with it.
Okay.
And my tension is my tension.
Yeah.
So if my tension isn't what they want, then I will change my hook size.
Okay.
In order to accommodate that.
Yeah.
It's a bit like when patchworkers say to me, "Do you ever pre-wash your fabric?" No. I just want to get on with crafting. So no, you just kind of, if you want to, absolutely fine. If that's how you feel comfortable in getting into it, go for it.
But otherwise,
if you don't want to, don't worry about it. It's absolutely fine.
Okay, so what do we do? Where do we start?
I am going to show you. I've got this piece here, okay,
pretty.
And this is all one stitch. So in crochet, there's basically only 3 or 4 very basic stitches.
That's beautiful.
Now this is all double knit yarns, but they're all made from different things. So there's a wool, there's an acrylic, there's a cotton, there's a cotton acrylic mix, and you can see how different it looks. Yeah, and there's some sequins in there and everything.
That's marvellous.
What I'd like to show you is how to start off with a row. We're going to do it in a row, and then I'm going to show you the granny square. Okay.
So are you actually going to add another row to this piece?
I'm going to add another row to this piece.
So at any stage you can put it down and walk away from it. But,
pick it back up again.
Okay, that's good.
Now, this is slightly different. I'm adding a piece to this in a slightly different way. In that, normally, you would crochet, let me show you, you would either crochet into the V. Can you see here, there are some V's at the top?
Yes,
okay.
I can. We're going to get in real close for that so we can see the V. There we go. In fact, I wonder, you can just about see them on the top. Yeah, that's perfect.
So what you've got is you've got your V's here, and those are your stitches. Now in crochet, you do one of a couple of different things. You either crochet into the V, so you go into that hole there, okay, and you take your crochet hook from the front to the back, and you have both V's on your hook. Okay. Or you go into the stitch space area, which is this bit here, which is underneath the V's. Okay. So now I'm going to go in the chain space area here.
And what difference does that make?
It completely changes the look of the piece.
Right. Okay.
So if you see this granny square here,
this is beautiful.
Right. Yeah. I'm going into the chain spaces and the pieces at the top. Okay. Right. But what I'm going to show you is how to start.
So it's just along the top there.
It's just along the top there.
Okay. Yeah, and that is absolutely divine.
So let's do a slip knot.
Okay. We're just showing you. There we go. So that one is just going into the top.
It's easy, easy peasy,
Fabulous.
easy peasy.
Okay.
I'm going to show you predominantly the treble stitch today. You start off everything in terms of crochet. You start with a, don't worry darling, chuck it over.
I'm taking part at rug with me. We didn't see that.
So crochet, you start with a slip knot. Now, the way of holding a crochet hook is infinite.
Right.
And what that basically means is there is no wrong way of holding a crochet hook.
So it's however it's comfortable for you.
Whatever's comfortable for you,
cool.
You stick with that and don't let anyone tell you otherwise.
Excellent.
Right?
And if they do, ignore them.
It really doesn't matter. If that's what you feel comfortable with. I hold mine like this. I've seen people hold it like this, and all sorts of ways.
And I don't suppose it matters if you're left or right-handed either, does it?
No. Again, if you feel whichever way you feel comfortable holding it, you hold it that way.
Marvellous.
Right.
Okay.
And the thing that people struggle with the most when they first start, and I did too, is the tension. Is how to hold the extra thread in. I'm right-handed, in your left hand.
Yeah.
Okay. But I'll show you the basis of all things crochet. So you always start off with a slip knot.
Okay.
And again, there's lots of ways of doing a slip knot, so there's no wrong way. There's only right ways of doing things.
Okay.
And this is how I do a slip knot. So I get my thread and I fold it up over the top like that.
Okay.
And I pull it a bit tight and I bring the thread underneath. Okay?
Yeah.
That's what I've got.
So
I hook it under and I pull it up.
Okay.
Okay.
Fabulous, yeah.
But honestly, there's loads of ways of doing it.
Yeah.
So again, whichever way you feel comfortable, you go for it.
Superb.
Okay, now I thread my yarn around my hands like this, and I'll do it again slowly.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, if you can.
So splay your fingers out like that.
Okay.
And again, there's lots of different ways of doing it. You find what's comfortable for you.
Yeah.
But this is how I do mine. I bring it up and under like that.
Yeah.
And I wrap it twice round there.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
And this is how I hold my crochet.
Excellent.
Now, the beginning of all crochet, you start with a slip knot and then a row of chain.
Right. Okay.
So let me show you what happens in crochet. You have your crochet hook, okay? And the idea is that you're going to take your crochet hook from the front and to the back of the crochet.
Okay,
right?
that's easy.
Now, a lot of people make the mistake of doing that.
Right.
You don't want to do that. You want to go front to back.
Right,
okay,
excellent.
front to back.
So
Now,
always front to back.
watch what happens. If I engage the yarn and I have my crochet hook facing up, I'm not going to be able to get it through that loop.
No, it's just stuck.
If I take it to the left, I can't get it through.
Right.
If I take it through the right, I can't get it through.
Right.
The idea is front to back and hook it over and make sure your crochet hook is directly facing south.
Okay.
And then you pull it through.
Ah,
Right? And
yeah.
it's as easy as that.
And this is making a chain.
And this is chain stitch. This is the
Okay,
basic
that's
of
easy.
all things crochet.
Yeah.
Now, the other thing you need to consider is your pincer fingers.
Okay,
Okay?
yeah.
These are really important.
The pincer fingers.
The pincer fingers.
Okay.
A thing that people do when they first start to learn crochet is they keep their crochet low. And what happens is you don't have the control over it
Right.
as much as you should have.
Right, okay.
So what I do is I use my pincer fingers and I always hold my crochet really high up to the crochet hook. Let me wind that yarn around my finger again.
Okay.
Because I hold it up so high,
Yeah.
I have really good control.
Yeah.
Then I let go and I bring my finger up.
yeah,
Okay?
yeah.
And what I'm doing is I'm going front to back
Yeah.
and twisting it round,
Yeah.
pulling it through.
Yeah.
Front to back, let's get rid of that. What's that? Front to back, finger down, hook down, pull
Yeah.
it through.
Perfect.
Okay,
Yeah.
and that's the basis of all crochet.
Brilliant.
It's as
I can
simple
do
as
that.
that. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
and that's
absolutely.
creating a chain.
Yeah. Now that's a chain stitch.
Wonderful.
Right. The thing that people struggle with the most, and the most boring bit of crochet, is always your first row
Right.
after your chain stitch.
Right.
Because it's fiddly.
Is that the horrible
Oh,
one?
it's horrible. It's fiddly and it's time consuming.
Okay.
But I found a way of doing it. The lovely Sue showed me a different way of doing it. Yeah.
Yay!
So
Phew.
normally what you would do, a lot of teachers would show you. Let me just pull that out a bit. So I don't know if you can see here. What you've got is a V. You've got those V's.
Oh, yes.
Okay. Now so you've got a row of V's.
Yeah.
That's the right side. If I flip it up, you've got a single hoop.
Ah, yes.
Okay.
Okay.
So that's the wrong side. Now, what you want to do, so I'm putting it back again. what you've got to do with your chain is you've got to go back in there. Now normally it's really fiddly, because what you have to do is if we're doing a treble, the treble stitch, what you do is you put your yarn around the hook, and that's YRH. In the books it'll say YRH, yarn round hook.
Right, okay. YRH.
YRH. And then because it's a treble stitch, the treble stitch is quite a long stitch.
Okay.
And therefore we have to go in a couple of stitches to give ourselves the height on the first row. Now, the more fiddly way of doing it is that you have to engage your hook into that V and then the V opposite. Ooh. Which is really, really fiddly.
And this is the bit
This is the bit that's boring and laborious and a pain when you want to do your first row.
Okay.
Let me show you a quick and easy way of doing it.
So have you got a better way?
Yeah.
Show us.
Yarn round hook.
Yeah.
YRH.
Yeah, YRH.
Now, we've got our 2 V's there. Now, and we've got the 1 underneath.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, so instead of going into that one and that one, I'm going to go in from the top.
Right.
Okay, and I'm going to have 1 of the V's in the front of the hook, 1 of the V's in the back, and I'm going to engage the hoop at the back.
Okay.
Yarn round hook, pull it through, and then do a treble stitch. And honestly, believe me, that is infinitely easier.
A massive difference.
A massive, massive difference. Speed and time, and then literally you can go all the way along.
Fabulous.
It's so much quicker to do that way than it is to do it the other way.
Excellent.
Okay.
So that's your second row then?
That's your first row.
That's
your
chain
first row. It's strange. The chain stitch is never really written as the first row.
Okay.
So it will say, patterns will say to you, do 38 chain, and then row 1, and it will tell you what you then have to do on row 1.
Right, okay. So the chain is never counted as a row?
Never counted as a row.
Okay.
Now, if we were doing a granny square, the way to start off a granny square, again, we do a slip knot.
Okay.
Okay.
You pulled it out.
Yeah. We do and that's the thing about crochet as well. What I struggled with knitting, if I went wrong, I was like that. Oh goodness, I don't know. It's just so complicated, and you know, it's all the way down there. And how do you hook it back up?
But
you saw how quickly it was to undo it.
Yeah.
So if you make a mistake, and you can go back and start again.
That's brilliant. Okay. So where do we go now?
So we're doing the same thing. We did a slip knot. Okay, we're going to start the basis of what this is, and this is a granny square.
Beautiful. Okay.
So with granny squares, what you tend to do is 4 chain, or let's do 5 to give us a bigger chain.
Okay.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay.
Okay.
So what we're going to do is turn that into a circle.
Oh,
right.
Okay.
So we're going to go back to our first chain.
Yeah.
And we're going to go in there, and we're going to create what they call a slip stitch. And what a slip stitch is it's actually not a stitch. It's a way of bringing one piece together with another, or moving left a bit without creating a stitch.
So this is where you'd start the centre?
Yeah, so if we were, say, here, and we wanted to get to over there without creating a stitch, we would do what we call a slip stitch. So it's a way of moving yourself across without actually creating anything. Okay. So I know that doesn't look like a circle, but there's our circle. The other thing is, do not be shy about pulling it apart.
Yes, so you can
pull it around.
You've
got to be able. Do not be shy with it. You're in charge, so you pull it around.
Yeah.
Okay. So
and then you can see
and
that
then
you've
you
formed
can see
it
where you need to go. So we are going to do the beginning of a granny square.
Okay.
So we did 5 chain. We went back to the first chain. We slip stitched in it to create a circle.
Yeah.
Now we're going to do chain 3. 1, 2, 3, and that is our first treble. Okay. That is the right height. A chain 3, or if you're a loose person, if you're a loose woman, if you're a loose crocheter, I tend to do chain 2 because I'm quite loose. Okay. So my chain 2 is the right height. But in terms of for new people, chain 3, that gives you the height of a treble stitch.
Excellent. Okay.
So we're going to do yarn round hook, because we're going to do a treble stitch.
Okay.
And we're going to go into the front of the circle. Yeah. And take our crochet hook through to the back. Okay. We're going to put yarn around the hook. Yeah. And we're going to pull it through. We now have 3 loops on our crochet hook.
Excellent.
Yarn round hook, pull it through, yarn round hook, pull it through, and there you've done your first treble.
Fabulous.
Okay, so there's loads of things that you can do. That's how you start.
Can I show you? Because that's the centre.
Here.
Can you see right
So
in this bit here?
That's the centre bit.
So you can see there. See, physically, so with every granny square, you're working out from the middle? You
work out from the middle and go and bigger and bigger and bigger.
That is ridiculously beautiful.
Thank you.
Isn't it? That's beautiful. Okay.
Now, quick little neat little trick. Okay.
Right.
Now, what happens is you can either crochet in your yarn ends or you tie them in, you sew them in after.
Okay.
So you get yourself a good needle with a big eye, a knitter's needle.
Right, yeah,
okay?
Because obviously if you've got chunky yarn...
You want to be able to put your chunky yarn through. Now,
Super.
You load up the needle, okay?
Yeah.
Now we're going to go on...
You're good at that.
We're going to bring it through, yeah. So what we're trying to do is trying to hide this and do it in such a way that it doesn't unravel.
So you don't just want to trim it off because then it's just going to go...
yeah, and all that hard work will come undone.
And then you'll cry.
So, yeah, and then you really will cry. Yeah. So what we're going to do, we're going to bed it in the wool in a neat way. So we're going to bed it in like that. Now, here's the trick. Normally, you'd go back and forward.
Yeah.
My suggestion is you, at some point, can you see where I've come out here? I'm going to go back on myself on the same stitch.
Maybe hold it up a bit for that.
Right, there you go. So I've wound it in with the needle up to here. Okay, now I could just keep going, but what I'm going to do is create a knot so that I'm double securing this thread end in.
Okay.
So I'm going to, where I come out here, I'm going to go back behind it. Okay,
yeah.
So I'm creating a knot.
And it's going in between the stitches,
It's going in between the
isn't it?
stitches. You're never going to see it at the front, and I'll show you what will happen when I snip it off. Again, I'm going to go behind it, and I'm going to very neatly just pull it through, okay? And then I'm going to tie it off. I'm going to snip it off with my scissors as close to the work as possible. Now, can you see?
No.
Can you see where I've...
No, that does look really neat.
Neat. And you can't see from the front either. And because I've gone back on myself a couple of times, you've created a real safe knot so it won't unravel. But the only way you can do that is if you give yourself enough yarn length.
Right,
so don't be shy of giving yourself a little bit of extra yarn length to be able to do that.
so even though it looks a bit, you know, obviously until it's tied in, it looks a bit messy.
Don't worry about that.
But don't worry about that. That's
perfect.
That. Yeah. Fabulous. That's a good tip.
It is really good. Now, the final and last thing, we have these lovely press boards, and they look like giant... I've never seen these before. They're great.
Yeah, it looks like a jigsaw.
It does. It's been designed like a jigsaw. And the reason that you want to do this, when you're crocheting or knitting, you're often people who make... jumpers or scarves or whatever, it says afterwards, because it rolls up. Can you see like the corners have rolled up? The ends have rolled up. Right, well you want to flatten it all out. And these are inch increments, these squares.
Okay.
So let's just say we've made a sleeve for a jumper.
Yeah.
So what we would do, or a scarf, is we can put these together, okay, in a long row.
Yeah. And
we have in here, we've got one already done, and it comes with what we call T-pins, which are these pins here, okay? And they literally look like a T, hence T-pins. Okay.
Excellent.
And
okay.
Often at the end of a pattern, it will tell you how wide it wants it. Okay. So what you would do is you would get your sleeve, look at the measurement on the pattern description, and you would pin it out in the right size. So you would make sure it's equal all the way along. You then, depending in which way you do it, more often than not, you would put a tea towel over the top, and then you would get the iron, and then you would hover it over and hit the steam button.
Excellent.
And then leave it for 24 hours.
Oh, really?
And then it flattens it all out. So what you can do is then, if you were, say, making a jumper, and you had the front of the jumper or the back of the jumper, you would then put it together like that so that you had the space.
So T-pin them all on,
and then,
cover it, steam it a little bit with your iron.
Yeah.
That's fabulous.
And
I have never seen that before. That's fantastic.
And there's
Thank you
crochet.
very much. I've learned loads.
Yeah, it's great.
That is fabulous. Thank you very much,
You're very
Julie.
welcome. No problem.
There is loads that you can learn. I hope you've enjoyed that. Loads of things there for crocheting. We've got 2 more lessons yet, so don't go anywhere. Remember, you're tuned in to Craft Academy.